My sister-in-law slapped me over her $5,000 ruined dress. My husband kicked me out without defending me. But when he begged me back 3 weeks later and demanded I apologize, I left them all speechless. I'm 29 years old, I work in finance, and I make pretty good money for my age. And honestly, I need to get this story off my chest because what happened a few weeks ago literally destroyed my 4-year marriage. The thing is, I always knew my husband Jason's family was, let's say, complicated, but I never thought things were going to escalate the way they escalated. I guess I should start from the beginning. I mean, from how I met Jason and what his family was like when we first started dating. I met Jason when we were like 23 years old, at a work conference. And honestly, at first, everything was perfect. You know, that stage where everything is rosy and you don't see the problems coming. His family seemed normal at first, like a middle-class family that got together on Sundays and celebrated every birthday together. But after a while, I started noticing certain weird things. His younger sister, I'm not going to say her name, but let's say she's like 26 now, was always kind of spoiled and coddled by everyone. And when she married a guy quite a bit older than her who had a lot of money, she kind of became unbearable. She calls herself a trad wife on her social media. You know, that whole traditional wife vibe who stays at home and cooks everything perfectly and has an impeccable house. But the reality is she has staff for everything and basically just posts photos on Instagram all day. And the worst part is, she's always been super competitive with me. I don't know if it's because I work and earn my own money or what, but since we met, there's been this weird tension between us. My mother-in-law, Linda, is also a whole topic by herself. She's one of those moms who think their kids are perfect and can never do anything wrong, especially her precious daughter. I always felt like she saw me as not good enough for Jason, like I was too focused on my career and not dedicated enough to being a wife. You know what I mean? But well, Jason always told me I was exaggerating, that his mom loved me a lot and that I was misinterpreting things. Looking back, I should have seen all the red flags that were there from the beginning, but I was in love and I thought things would get better with time. During the first years of marriage, there were several small incidents where Jason always took his family's side over mine. For example, once his sister showed up like 2 hours late to a dinner I had organized at our house, didn't let anyone know or anything. And when I told her it would have been nice if she'd given us a heads up because the food got cold, she got super offended and Jason told me afterwards that I had been too dramatic. Or when Linda would redecorate my house without asking when she came to visit, move my things around and change the throw pillows on the couch and stuff like that, and Jason would say she was just being nice and helpful. Basically, every time I had a problem with his family, he made me feel like I was the crazy one, the one overreacting, the one causing problems where there weren't any. But anyway, the thing that really ruined everything happened like a month and a half ago. Like mid-September, I think. Linda organized a family dinner at her house, something she did often. And this time, it was to celebrate. I don't remember what. Maybe my father-in-law's birthday or something. Honestly, the details don't matter much. The thing is, Jason and I went, his parents were there, his sister with her husband, and some other family members who came and went. It was a normal dinner at first. We ate, drank wine, the typical family gathering where everyone talks at the same time, and nobody really listens to anyone. After dinner, they put on music, and some of us started dancing in the living room. Like that vibe when the family gets happy with wine and someone puts on old songs and everyone starts dancing. Kind of silly, but fun. I was dancing with Jason. I had like 2 glasses of wine by then. Nothing crazy, but I was relaxed and happy. And his sister was dancing near us with her husband. She was wearing this super elegant white dress, like one of those that costs an arm and a leg. I think it was some expensive brand because she wouldn't stop showing it off all night. You know how she is. So at one point, I'm dancing and spinning around, and accidentally, literally without realizing it because I had my back turned, I bump into her and spill my glass of red wine all over her white dress. And when I say wine spilled on her, I mean a lot spilled, like the whole glass emptied onto the front of her dress. I froze, completely shocked, because it was a total accident. I didn't even see her there. I immediately turned around and started apologizing like crazy. I said sorry like 1,000 times. I was looking for napkins to try to clean it. I was super embarrassed and mortified because I know it was my fault. I wasn't paying attention to my surroundings. But she right there started screaming, like really screaming, saying I had done it on purpose, that I'd always been jealous of her, that I ruined her designer dress that cost I don't know how much money. I kept apologizing and told her, look, obviously it was an accident. I don't have eyes in the back of my head. I didn't see you there. And yes, maybe I shouldn't have made that comment about eyes in the back of my head because it sounded kind of sarcastic. But I was nervous, and sometimes when I'm nervous, I say things without thinking how they sound. Honestly, in my head, I was just trying to explain it was a genuine accident, but she took it like I was insulting her or making her look bad on purpose. What happened next was, I don't know, like surreal, like I can't believe it actually happened. She came up to me and slapped me. As hard as it sounds, she slapped me right across the face in front of the whole family. I just stood there completely shocked with my face burning and tears coming out of my eyes, more from humiliation than pain because it did hurt. But what hurt most was that she did it in front of everyone and nobody said anything. And she kept screaming horrible things at me, that I'm bitter because she doesn't have to work and I do, that I'm jealous because her husband makes more money than I do, that I've always been just as mediocre, that she was going to sue me for assault. She literally said she was going to sue me for assault when she was the one who hit me first. I don't know what came over me in that moment. Like something broke inside me, because all the accumulated rage from years of putting up with her attitudes and her comments and her absurd competition came out all at once. I slapped her back. Yes, I admit it. I hit her back. And I told her to shut her mouth and stop screaming because she was making a scene over an accident. It wasn't my most elegant moment. I know, but I just couldn't take it anymore. I literally felt like if I didn't do something, I was going to explode right there. And here's where everything gets worse, because Jason, my husband, the man who supposedly loves me and is supposed to be on my side, took her side immediately. He didn't ask me what had happened. He didn't defend me. He didn't say anything to his sister for hitting me first. Nothing. He and my father-in-law basically grabbed me and kicked me out of the house. Like literally threw me out while his sister kept crying dramatically in Linda's arms like I had attacked her for no reason. My mother-in-law was yelling at me about how dare I hit her daughter, that I was rude, that I needed to apologize immediately. I tried to explain that she had hit me first, that everything had been an accident that got out of control, but nobody was listening to me. Absolutely nobody. Jason put me in the car and drove home in complete silence. I was crying in the passenger seat. I couldn't believe what had just happened. I felt humiliated and betrayed and furious all at the same time. When we got home, I thought we were finally going to talk, that he was going to understand my side of things. But no. He told me to stay home while he went back to his family. He left and left me there alone, and like 2 hours later he sent me a voice note. Because he didn't even have the courage to tell me in person or by call, a voice note where he told me that if his sister decided to sue me, he was going to support her, and that I needed to apologize to the whole family for my behavior. I listened to that voice note like 3 times trying to process what he was saying. My husband, the person who's supposed to know me better than anyone, who knows I'm not violent or dramatic or confrontational, was telling me he was going to support a lawsuit against me for defending myself from his sister who had assaulted me first. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't. It was in that moment that something changed in me, like a sudden clarity where you see things as they really are and not as you want them to be. I got up and started packing my things. I took out 2 big suitcases and started putting in clothes, important documents, my work stuff, everything I could carry. I didn't tell Jason anything. I turned off my phone and went to my parents' house at like 11 at night. My parents freaked out when they saw me arrive like that, with the suitcases and crying, and I told them everything that had happened. My dad was furious. He wanted to go talk to Jason immediately, but my mom told me to breathe and that maybe I should try to communicate with Jason to work things out. You know, my mom has always been one of those who believe marriage is sacred, and you have to do everything possible to save it. Jason started calling me the next day like 50 times, sending messages, voice notes, but I wasn't answering him. Finally, like on the 3rd day, I answered a call from him, and you know what he told me? He told me I needed to come back home because his sister wanted me to apologize to her in person, face to face, and that she was going to be there when I arrived, so we could resolve everything. I told him he was completely crazy if he thought I was going to apologize to someone who had physically assaulted me first, that if anyone owed apologies, it was her to me, and that if they wanted to sue me to go ahead because I had witnesses that she had hit me first, and that the wine had been an accident. Jason went crazy, started yelling at me on the phone, told me I was dramatic, that I was ruining the family. Why couldn't I be more understanding with his sister, who was very affected by the dress thing? That his sister suffers from anxiety, and I had been very aggressive with her. Basically, he was blaming me for everything and completely minimizing the fact that his sister had slapped me in front of the whole family. I told him I wasn't going back home while he kept that attitude. I hung up and blocked him temporarily because I needed space to think. Like 2 weeks went by where I was at my parents' house, working from there because fortunately my job is hybrid, and trying to process everything. My friends told me to divorce him immediately, that family was toxic and Jason was never going to change, but part of me still had hope that maybe he would reflect and realize how badly he had acted. How naive I was, honestly. During that time, Jason kept sending me messages where he apologized for yelling at me, but then added a "but" and started justifying everything, saying I had overreacted, that his sister didn't hit me that hard, that it had all been a misunderstanding we could fix if I just apologized. At some point, like wanting to end the dress issue and show that I did care about having ruined it even though it was an accident, I looked up the dress online. It turned out to be from a brand that cost like $800, and I paid for a replacement that I sent directly to Linda's house with a note saying, I hoped this resolved the dress matter. I thought that at least would remove that argument, you know? But no. Apparently that wasn't enough. Because Linda sent me a message saying the gesture was nice, but I still needed to apologize in person to her daughter because I had humiliated her in front of the family. I mean, seriously? I was the one who was humiliated when she slapped me in front of everyone and nobody did anything. But according to them, I was the one who had to apologize. That's when I started seeing a clearer pattern of all the times Jason had prioritized his family over me in similar situations during our marriage. I started thinking about all the times I had given in, that I had apologized for things that weren't my fault, that I had swallowed my pride to keep family peace, and I realized it had always been like that I was always the one who had to adjust and change and apologize while they never acknowledged any mistake. It was like a sick dynamic where I was always to blame for everything that went wrong, and Jason was an abside enabler who allowed his family to treat me like that because it was easier than confronting them. Finally, like 3 weeks after being at my parents' house, Jason asked me to meet him at a neutral cafe to talk. I agreed because I thought maybe after so much time he had really reflected. I got to the cafe and he was there. He looked tired and stressed, and when I sat down, he told me he missed me and wanted us to be together again, that he was very sorry about how things had turned out. I felt a little hope, like maybe he finally got it, but then he added, I need you to also apologize to my family so we can move forward. That's when I realized he hadn't understood anything. I told him, Jason, your sister physically assaulted me in front of your whole family and nobody did anything. You kicked me out of the house, you threatened to support a lawsuit against me, and you still expect me to apologize. He insisted that we had both been wrong, that it was a situation that got out of control, that both sides were at fault. All that rhetoric about shared blame when it clearly wasn't like that. I started making him a list of all the times during our marriage where he had prioritized his family over me, all the times he had made me feel like my feelings didn't matter, all the times he had minimized my concerns about how his family treated me. I told him about when his sister said at a family dinner that women who work full-time can't be good wives, and he said nothing. About when Linda redesigned our living room without asking me, and he told me not to be ungrateful. About when his dad made a comment about my weight at Christmas, and Jason told me afterwards I was being sensitive. About when his sister excluded me from a family girls' trip because, according to her, I was too different from them, and he told me not to take it personally. One after another, and as I talked, I saw his face changing, like he was uncomfortable but also trying to justify each situation in his head. When I finished talking, I told him, I want a divorce. Just like that, without yelling, without drama, just that sentence. Jason was quiet for like a full minute, looking at me like he couldn't process what I had just said, and then he started with the whole repertoire of, we can't throw away 4 years over this. You're being dramatic. We can go to couples therapy. My family is willing to forget everything if you just take the first step, the whole show to make me change my mind. But I had already made the decision, you know, that clarity you have when you finally see things as they are and not as you want them to be. I told him it wasn't just about this incident, that it was about years of feeling invalidated and unsupported, that I couldn't be in a marriage where I was always going to be the second choice after his family, that I deserved someone who would defend me instead of constantly asking me to apologize. Jason tried to minimize it again, saying I was exaggerating everything, that families have problems and that's normal, that I was throwing our marriage in the trash over an isolated incident. That's when I told him that if he thought it was an isolated incident, then he definitely didn't know me at all and hadn't paid attention to how I felt for years. And that only confirmed that divorcing him was the right decision. I got up and left the cafe. And even though he followed me to the parking lot trying to keep talking, I got in my car and left. That was the last time we talked face to face until now that we're in the divorce process with lawyers and all the legal stuff. What happened after that was Linda started sending me messages. First trying to be nice like, I understand, things got out of control, but we're family and we can fix this. But when I made it clear I was going to divorce Jason no matter what, she went crazy. She sent me messages saying I was a horrible person, that I was destroying her son, that I was a gold digger, who had only been with Jason for his money, when I make more than him. All these absurd accusations. His sister also started sending me messages. I guess Linda gave her my number, saying I was bitter, and that because of me, Jason was depressed. At first, I just ignored the messages, but after like 2 weeks of constant harassment, I sent them a very clear message saying I had screenshots of everything, including the lawsuit threats, the insults, the whole history of mistreatment, and that if they didn't leave me alone, I was going to make everything public on social media so everyone could see what they were really like. I told them I had witnesses that their precious daughter had assaulted me first, and that if they wanted to play that legal game, I could play too. Apparently that worked because Linda stopped writing to me. I blocked the sister, and since then, there's been peace on that front. The divorce is in process now. We've been at it for like 2 months, and it's tedious and stressful with all the papers and the division of assets and all that stuff, but I'm firm in my decision. Jason has tried a few times to communicate through mutual friends, sending messages that he made mistakes and wants to fix things, but I've already closed that door completely. My dad has supported me 100% through all this. He helped me get a good lawyer and tells me he's proud of me for prioritizing my well-being. My mom still has her doubts. She tells me maybe I should have tried harder with communication before going straight to divorce, but she respects my decision even if she doesn't completely agree. My friends have been incredible through all this. They've accompanied me to lawyer appointments. They've listened to me vent for hours and hours. They've reminded me that I'm not crazy and that what happened was real and was unacceptable. There are days where I feel super empowered and sure of my decision, and there are other days where I wonder if I really did the right thing, if maybe I should have tried couples therapy, if I'm throwing years of my life away over a problem that maybe had a solution. But then I remember that slap. I remember Jason kicking me out of the house without listening to my side. I remember all the years of feeling less important than his family, and I know I made the right decision. Honestly, I don't know what's going to happen from here on out. Like I'm rebuilding my life alone at 29 after thinking I had found my person. And that's scary. But there's also something liberating in knowing I'm not going to have to deal with that toxic family anymore, that I'm not going to have to bite my tongue every time someone disrespects me, that I can live my life without having to constantly apologize for existing in a way they don't like. I guess in the end, I learned that not all marriages are worth saving, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit you were wrong to choose to be with someone who's never going to put you first.